Hey traders, TG Watkins here, and I'm recording this April 28th. We just had, let's see, Apple and Amazon earnings come out, so we're going to talk about that. And then we've also seen Google and Facebook and a few other big names that have come out. So let's walk through the market a little bit, show you that even with these earnings, the way that they're behaving, that I still see a general path to the market moving up, and then we'll have to watch out about the market rolling over. So kind of, I think, up and down pretty big. So if you guys are unfamiliar with me or new to the channel, come over here to profitpilot.com, and that's where you can get more information about me. You come over here to services if you like the way I talk about the markets and see things. And with the Moxie indicator, that's where you can find more information and pick up the tools and the classes. All right, so we come over here to the S&P, and what I was talking about the other day was that I think things are getting a little bit too bearish, at least for the time. Now, yes, totally, it's pretty bad out there, definitely. But you know what? How does the market work? Well, when too many people get on one side of it, it tends to go the other way. So I've kind of been looking at it like this and like this, that I think it was getting a little bit too oversold and that we were likely to bounce. Part of my reason for seeing that too is that we had price too far away from, say, the moving averages, and that there was a gap in through here. The other thing, I made a post to my subscribers yesterday, or at least Wednesday on the 27th. I said, look at that doji. And then today, that doji was perfect. That was just an absolutely perfect doji. So something to keep in mind there. We got a nice short covering rally today, or a short squeeze. But I'm still expecting some chopping through here, mostly because why? Well, we still have price below or hitting the underside of a downtrending hourly 50. The Moxie indicator is still below zero, all that kind of stuff. So I just wouldn't be surprised if we open up tomorrow or something like that, or anything. And just I'm expecting a bit of a pullback. And if it does that, that actually gives us a little bit more opportunity for the market to move up a little bit further. If we had gapped up, say, tomorrow like that, then I would have sold my long situations or my short UVXY. Basically, whatever strategy I had for the market to move up from here, if it jumps and gaps up tomorrow, Friday, then I would have just exited. But I think we're going to be kind of getting a move down like this and then up like that a little bit further. And basically in through here, if the market price can kind of get up here around the daily 50 or the daily 21, I'm going to be just getting out and then reassessing. So that's kind of the first move that I'm looking for. So we have that. And then we've looked at the UVXY. The thing that I've actually been talking quite a bit about is if we look at the weekly time frame, that, and again, for anybody who knows about the UVXY and how this thing works and trades, what you should be noticing first off is that on a weekly time frame, that this thing is double bottoming on a weekly time frame. This is almost unheard of. So kind of a big deal of what's happening here on the UVXY and all that kind of stuff. And I think what's gonna, basically it's a double bottom on a weekly time frame. So what does a double bottom mean if it works? It means price is going to go higher. And what does that mean for the UVXY? It means the market's going to go down. So this thing looks like it is setting up for a fairly big move, probably to the upside is what I'm looking at. And if that happens, then yeah, we're looking for big rollover in the market. Same thing. I mean, double bottom in there. There was an elf shoe in there. I'm just seeing a lot of stuff that I'm looking for this to kind of just build in through here, and then it's probably gonna really explode up like that. So, keep an eye on the UVXY if you guys are familiar with it and if you do trade it. But otherwise, the UVXY is a very, very tricky vehicle. I've watched it for years, so I've got a pretty good idea, experience of how it works, and it's been working well for us. So if we go over to Amazon, now I believe Amazon is down like 2 times the expected move. So it is down there. And if we kind of, let me just move this around so we can see it a little bit better. And it's right now at about, gosh, 2,600. So right there, and it went from 2,900 to 2,600. Yeah, that's a pretty serious move. But that being said, we also saw the Google was down and it recovered over the next day or two. So I have a feeling that even though, let's see about there, that even though Amazon is down quite a bit in the overnight from the earnings report, I just kind of have a feeling that it's probably going to bounce. Maybe it'll get driven down a little bit, but I think it's going to bounce. I don't think it's going to do what Netflix did. So I would actually be, if you guys are trading Amazon or something like that, my guess, my assumption is it's probably going to rally a little bit. So keep that in mind. It may not do it right away. It might need to kind of shake some stuff off, but I have a feeling that's the direction it's going to go. But it's not going to go up forever. But I do think it's probably going to close that gap and move up before then rolling over again. If we look at Apple, and with Apple, I don't know if they've come out with their earnings yet as I'm making this, but as far as it goes, Amazon and Apple both had bounces today. That kind of makes sense, at least for Apple. You can see it came into some support here and came into some support here, and it bounced a little bit. I too was I'm expecting Apple to at least soften tonight or tomorrow, something like that. I just don't think it's really going to jump up like this. I would much rather actually see it come down and then see if it can come up like that. And at least right now, what I'm seeing is it's about, just below 161. So it really, kind of just softened a little bit, but I don't know if the news is totally out yet or whatnot. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. A little bit of softness, a little bit of a pullback, and then we'll see if that can actually get us higher moves on these pullbacks. Then we kind of talk about Facebook. This is why trading earnings is tricky. You look at Facebook and they definitely had bad earnings, but they rallied. They jumped up big on earnings, and it's probably not because of their specifically earnings. I mean, I think this was all baked in, right? That was all baked in the cake. They already knew. It's like, oh, okay, buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing. And but then we compare that to like Teladoc, and Teladoc really, really went down, and it could go lower. So PayPal bounced a little bit, Qualcomm's up a little bit, Pinterest is up a little bit, but then we got some other ones that are down. So I just tend to stay away from earnings for that reason because I don't do options. I don't really have a strategy that can take advantage of theta decay or volatility or just earnings in general. I just stay away from it. So Facebook bounced. I think that kind of helped gave a little bit of a reprieve on the downside today, which is why the market moved up on some of this. But it's not out of the woods. Best case scenario is maybe this thing chops around sideways for a while, but it just there's not much to do with Facebook here. And then we look at Google, and this is kind of what I was alluding to. I wouldn't be surprised to see Amazon more or less do the same thing. You can see that Google, yes, it got trounced on earnings. You can see it was trying to hold here, and then it just got lower, but it got oversold. And I think people looked at this and either they took, maybe they thought it was going to go short, so they took their shorts off when it went down. They got their money, and they're like, "Cool, that's fine. That's all I need." It did, and it had been trending down for a while. So the fact that it was really starting to get oversold, it was starting to get into territory where I think those who trade it short are probably thinking, I think I made my money and I'm good. And so they exit their shorts, which means that it's going to be short covering. It's going to be starting to move up a little bit, something like that. So I just look at this and I'm thinking, yeah, Google looks pretty oversold. I mean, that's not great. Hopefully you're not long on this, but I do think at this point it's probably going to start kind of migrating back up to, I don't know, something like that. We'll have to see what it does. And on a weekly chart, look, I got a doji on a weekly. So that's kind of that reinforces what I was saying about dojis with the market earlier, and it kind of I think it's a little bit overdone to the downside. So let's watch Google probably bounce and revert to the mean, which is up, and I think Amazon is basically going to do the same thing. Microsoft, Microsoft went up on earnings. Okay, so for whatever reason they went up. Fine. As I said, I don't pay too much attention to the details of them. I just see what they do and then how the market reacts to it. In its case, it basically held that level and then reversed. Okay, so we're going to probably see this one go up for a few more days. I'm not sure exactly where. But again, I'm mostly looking on the short side, and so I'm just looking for this bounce. But I think the bounce is going to wear out, and then we're really going to roll over because all this stuff looks pretty weak. It really does look pretty weak. Even the bounces. So be it. You can bounce, but that bounce it's not an uptrend. It's just a bounce. All right, then we kind of get over here to USO, and if we look at the higher time frame charts, like the weekly and the daily, they they've been pretty oversold up through here and they needed to chill out. And that's what I've been telling my subscribers for quite some time. You can see here, got way outside of the 30 ATR on the daily chart and outside of that 30 ATR on the weekly chart. So I didn't think it was going to implode or anything, but you can see here it's basically just doing a pennant until it's ready to go, which it looks like it's going to resolve to the upside. It would basically say that price is flagging into the daily 50, and it's just kind of coming in here in between the 8 and the 21 on the daily chart. So yeah, USO looks great. Whether that's good news or bad news, that's up to you and how that matters for our economy and your trading positions. But USO looks fairly bullish and looks like it's going to probably keep going higher. Maybe take a look and consider some oil names, refineries, all that kind of stuff, and see what that does. But yeah, oil looking pretty good. Now, on that note, if we look at UNG, UNG had some really good moves, very similar to oil, to where like USO oil, to where it jumped up. But what it do? Just like oil, got way outside of that third ATR, and same thing on the daily chart, just way up there. You know that little shooting star candle, and then came back down. Now I have about a 1% position on this, mostly just so I can watch it and track it. I have a feeling it's going to do what the USO did. It got really, really overbought and it's just going to need to chill out and go sideways and oscillate for a while until it finally decides that it's found the support it wants and can go higher. I think it's going to be a while. If you look at USO, it took a while for price to get underneath or below the weekly 8, but still above the weekly 21. And on the daily chart, it took for price to get to the daily 50. So you can see that on UNG that there is quite a ways to go before either of those scenarios happen. So I think it's just going to be sideways for quite some time on UNG. But once it finds that support, I think it is going to resolve to the upside. So I do think it's going to continue to be bullish, just like USO. And if we look at GLD, some of the precious metals, and coming in through here, like really on the weekly chart, you can see that, and then we do the daily. So potentially what we're looking at on the daily chart is a trampoline move. So price is below the daily 50, but the Moxie indicator is still above zero. Now that can change a little bit, but I'm looking at that and saying that's probably going to end up being a trampoline move, which is great because that's a bullish scenario. I do think that this is eventually going to be bullish again. I think this is just a pullback because I think on the weekly time frame, we do have price over the weekly 50. The Moxie indicator is below zero. Now, I did think that I thought gold was going to run a little bit more before kind of pulling back or doing something. So I got a little surprised there as far as timing goes. But really, the big picture is we have the 8 over the 21, prices over the weekly 50, and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's just going to take its time until it finds some support. And at that time, I'd really like to see the weekly Moxie indicator get over zero as well. And then even if you look at the monthly time frame, you can see that gold is basically just flagging into an uptrending monthly 10, which it's done before, and had a pretty good move up after that. So I would still only look bullish on gold. It's just a matter of when and basically when. The other thing to note is that gold actually rallied today, went up today as the dollar continued to go parabolic in outer space. I mean, the US dollar is just through the roof. And that puts a lot of pressure on gold, which is what we're seeing. I think that is part of the reason why gold really got creamed is because the dollar started to explode. Now, I would imagine, I don't trade the dollar at all. I look at it somewhat, but I would imagine that the dollar is just getting super, super frothy, like way, way, way overdone. Kind of like how gold got way up there, how UNG got way up there, and how USO got way up there. The dollar looks like it's really far up there and likely to pull back at some point. And GDX is another one that I look at as far as the gold related stuff. And same thing, it dropped too, but it rallied a little bit today. Nothing conclusive to make of it yet. I'm not adding anything yet. I do want to eventually, but nothing here. And I think that it's just going to be pulling back, generally speaking, to its weekly 50, waiting for the weekly 50 to turn up. And I'm sure it's going to catch some support through there and start to make its way back up there. So I'm just kind of hanging out with these, waiting until we find the right opportunity to add to our gold exposure. Same thing with silver if you're into silver. It's just going to be trailing gold a little bit more. All right, and then if we wrap up here with Bitcoin, I know I like to look at GBTC, so choose whatever you want to choose. But I've been looking at this thing, and it's seriously. I actually have a buddy who did a good job buying it right in through here. Did a great job, but I said, well, I'm not sure that this is ready to go. Like, long term, I don't think it's ready to go because if we look here on the weekly time frame, this is why I have my patterns so that I know what portion of the pattern I'm in, so that I know how to handle the trade. So my buddy was buying it right here, which is right about there, and it moved up, and I said, "Yeah, okay, you caught a move, but it's going to pull back. It's not confirmed yet." And lo and behold, here it is pulling back all the way back to where he began. And so what this is you can look at this. Here's the leg, here's the heel, here's the arch of the foot, there's the ball of the foot. That is the elf shoe pattern that I talk about all the time. And so what I could tell him and what I could tell was that because it had not uh, finished the pattern and still had to do basically the arch of the foot, I could tell that price was going to run up, but it was going to run into resistance and likely to pull back, which it did. So that's why I didn't want to do anything with it because yes, I could have caught something here, and I could have, but then I would have had to sell at the top because it's probably going to pull back, which it did. So I just avoided it altogether. Didn't really feel like trading it. And the problem I have is, usually a double bottom or the elf shoe pattern is usually bullish, but you need to be prepared for when it's not. And I have rules and guidance for that too. And what I would be looking for is at some point, if this area, instead of holding that previous low, actually starts to move lower. That's what I'd really be seriously considering and being prepared for. And I told my buddy, I said, hey, I hope you at least get out break even if this doesn't work for you. So hopefully we'll see if he takes my caution about that, and you guys too. So just be prepared in case Bitcoin continues down. All right, well, that's going to be everything for today. It's Thursday, April 28th. And remember, we're going to be seeing what these earnings reports actually do in the next couple of days and how the market responds. So thanks again, everyone, and I'll talk to you soon.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.